Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Bloke Daz.
I'm Gaynor.
Okay, just the two of us again, Gay, on this. I think just me and you did this one, first one, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Car. This is part 2 of Tim Allen's car collection tour.
Yeah.
Some impressive motor cars. Yeah. This guy knows his cars.
He does.
We did one which was in blindfolded with Jay Leno, but it got blocked. And that was a really good video because he drove him in a car and he had to guess what car it was. I'm sure many of you have seen it.
Yeah.
And he knows his shit, he knows his cars, but he's a proper car fanatic.
Yeah.
And some of these cars are so impressive. But let's see the rest of his collection. And Tim Allen's car collection tour, Celebrity Garage Tour Part 2. Let's get into it.
Growing up on Woodward in Michigan, there was a place, Stark Hickey Ford, had the first, had one of these and also had a Mustang GT 350, the original GT 350. This was the Hearst model, and it's one of 50 Hearst 5-speed, or 4-speeds rather. And I always wanted one of these. I built the model car of it. I had a remote control version of it. And when I became where I pretty much purchased every car I dreamt about having and every car I had a model of. I don't have a full-size USS Missouri battleship. I do have the model of that. So one of these days I'll have that in here. Well, most of the block will be taken up by that. Again, the funny thing about this, it's pretty much as it was. It hasn't been touched. It's a brilliant piece. But I'm lazy. Once again, see, this is why you've got to read all the details when you buy a soundstage. Not a real good idea. I drove this car and I asked the guy years into it, I go, I don't know. I'm having a tough time steering it and backing it up. And he goes, yeah, it's a 66 Mustang. And I went, oh yeah. They don't drive real well when you compare anything to the modern cars. You still, wow. It's stiff, manual steering, very hard to drive, gorgeous car. Yeah. Can't get out of its own way. It's just not that quick. It's more of a visceral thing. Now, this thing has just been fixed up. A 1950 Series 61 Caddy. I knew nothing about this. It was a barn find. I love this era of Cadillac. I love everything about this thing. It's almost the Buick of Cadillacs. It's got a vinyl interior.
I was looking online this morning at cars. I was watching a car show and I thought I'll just have a look online and see what's available. Watching Tim Allen's car collection, watching Jay Leno's car collection, and knowing that I've got a warehouse, thinking maybe I can build my own collection up over a period of like the next 5 to 10 years, right? Nothing like that, nothing along these lines, but maybe a collection of like, I don't know, American muscle cars or American cars. So I went online to have a look, and I thought, I'll start with Cadillac and see what Cadillacs they've got, right? Do you know there was one Cadillac for sale? They had the Escalade and the newer sort of versions of what they've got, but I'm talking older stuff. They had one Cadillac DeVille for sale, and it was the only one in Europe.
Really?
Wow. It said only one in Europe. It was the way it advertised.
That's
and I was
surprising.
like, what? And I went, yeah.
And how much was it?
I think it was about, wasn't that expensive. I think it was like 30 odd grand.
Oh, okay.
Don't know, it wasn't like daft money. I think it was like 30 odd thousand, maybe less. But I was thinking the only one in Europe. And I'm like, I'm sure I've seen loads of these.
Yeah.
So now I'm intrigued. Now I'm like, why would you advertise? It's got to be the way it was advertised. It must be the only one in Europe of maybe that model.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. But it was the way it was put across, and I was like, can you imagine me being the only one in Europe to have one of them?
Yeah.
And that's what went through my mind, and that would be the first in my collection. Obviously with the cars we've already got as well. But that's what made me start thinking. Wow. So watch this space for Office Bloke Daz car collection. If anyone wants to donate any cars that are not scrap, mind you can donate me to scrap. There's a scrap yard next door.
It's got a period correct engine. I knew nothing about these engines. I had to go learn about this with a guy down in Orange County, an older man that knew all about this. One of my best friend's dads worked for Cadillac, and before he passed away told us which is the right engine for this. And I learned so much about these, and I got original 3 Strombergs on this in the engine. And this has just been finished. It was all patinaed, sitting in a barn forever, and I drove it for years like that. And then I brought it back to the original color. The interior we took, it had factory seat covers on it. Took the seat covers off, and everything looks brand new.
He's not mentioned who restores them for him.
No.
You have to let us know if that's available to know, if that's knowledge that who restores. Does he do it? Has he got an in-house team that he gets involved in? Does it himself as well? because that restoration there is just like absolutely mint.
Yeah.
That colour's really nice,
Yeah,
isn't it?
beautiful.
I love that colour.
I get probably more thumbs up with this car driving, but it's great. It's got some punch to it. Again, accurate. I don't know if it's accurate. My Cadillac guy said this is actually less weight than the new ones.
Like a
It's
wedding
all,
car.
It's all
Yeah.
metal. There's very little body to this, and this was the body style they raced, I think, in Le Mans, if I got it correct. As a, this is what my wife considers this the divorce car. When I was a kid, in our neighborhood, we had a lot of kids in a house, so we lived very well. But the rich kids that were 4 blocks over, their dads drove this thing, a Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham d'Elegance. I mean, they wouldn't stop with the names. This is what every rich guy had. I bought it, put skeleton lights on the front, blacked out what I could. It's, one of my buddies says it's like a combination of funeral parlor with car. The interior, as you can see, is overdone. I brought it back to where it was, blacked out what I thought. Again, I've driven this. All I get thumbs up for is older people in walkers. It is, my wife says, you bring that home again and you bring that car home again, we'll get divorced. She absolutely, somewhere in her history, this was bad people drove it. To me, this is the first sign of wealth that you've had one of these things.
It's funny that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Get around my...
It's funny how a car sticks with you about, like, when you see families and you think, I've never really looked at families and look what they've got and thought wealth.
Yeah.
You know, I look at them and think enjoyment,
Yeah.
you know, memories or,
Yeah.
you know, good luck to them sort of thing. I never look at someone and think he's wealthy or she's wealthy in that kind of way.
Yeah.
But I used to see families, I mean, we come from a very poor sort of like area, so not many people had nice cars.
No.
But I used to look at the Ford Capri and I think, that's like a family of
The
fun.
epitome of-
That's the pinnacle. You've hit the top there
Yeah.
because you've got a Ford Capri,
Yeah.
and it was like you know, it was a proper. It was one of the first really sort of like sporty looking cars that came on the market that people could afford.
Yeah.
In my era, I'm talking.
Yeah.
Then when you look at them, there was the Datsun and things like that. You know,
Yeah.
was it the Z whatever it was? Can't remember the model name.
ZX180.
But it's something like that. There was ZX something or Z something. But then you had like, but the Ford Capri was like the first real high-end sports car. I think it was in a TV show called The Professionals where Bodie and Doyle, I think they drove a Capri as well. So it was kind of like one of them type things.
So I went to school with a girl, Jackie, and her mum and dad had a purple Jaguar.
Yeah. Jag was like the prestige. That was up a bit. That was like almost royal family sort of status.
Yeah.
In my head anyway.
Yeah.
But my uncle used to have you know my uncle
Yeah.
Tony. He had, or you did know him. He used to have Capris and he used to have the 2.8 injection. So he was like the top end of the Capris as well, like the real sporty ones.
Yeah.
And I always looked at them and think, top cars.
Yeah.
He knows how it works.
Yeah.
He knows how to live life.
Yeah.
idiotic Tesla, which I love and hate relationship.
Tesla.
Again, this is what's happening. I drove this,
My Jaguar E-Type 65, I believe.
it was a 99-point restoration probably 25 years ago when I bought it. And I think it's the best looking car ever made. I think one of the Ferrari team owners said the same thing. Might even been the owner, Mr. Ferrari. There's nothing like.
Saw one of these go up on the auction today for 20 grand.
Oh, okay.
Needed restoration, but it was an automatic, a right-hand drive automatic.
Right.
But it needed a lot doing. Not a massive amount, but it needed a good 10, 15 grand spending on
It's
it.
getting the parts now.
You've got to do self-restoration on them
Yeah.
if you're going to make any money on them.
Yeah.
You know, you can get one now for like 40, 50 grand.
Yeah.
Like this automobile. It feels delicate. I feel like I need a pencil thin mustache or one of those round hats with a cane when I'm driving it. Everything is like this. I've been pushing it a little bit. I got to be honest with you. Just want to see how it handles. It's much more substantial than it looks. The A-arm suspension to me is delicate. Everything about
the
this thing
condition's
seems
mint.
delicate. The
Yeah.
interior, the wheel, the switches. But you get this in a corner, not bad. The last time we came through, we have a bad booster problem. Nothing like having no brakes, I will tell you that. As I'm pulling up really good to up on Lancashire, I'm hauling, and I'm not hauling, of course, within the speed limit. What am I saying? I didn't say hauling. And I come, and I'm going, damn, that's weird how fast that car's coming up. And then all I'm thinking is that how much damage I would do to this aluminum jumbo banging. I did stop. We did figure out it was an old booster, and you know, you don't drive them. That's what happened. switching gears, a better view of this over. Come over here. This is a happy accident. You'd have to see that angle right there. I used to race another guy, Kirk O'Green, if he's out there. His dad, Kirk O'Green, was one of my high school buddies. His dad had a Ford dealership, and he had Cobra Jet Torino. Okay, so keep that in mind. So I saw this view. Well, it has a shaker hood on. It's not on that right because we're having a starter problem with this. I like the way we are. Somebody is. I'm not fixing it because I'm doing a TV show right now. Had a shaker hood on. I saw the picture of it. It was tragically from a collection where the dad had passed away, and I don't like getting involved in that because but the kids didn't want the stuff anymore. So I bought one of this, and it was a great price, and I love the car, and I get it here, and I'm going, it looks different than I remember. It goes like squirt. This is a fast car, an old drag car. And then I realized this isn't a Torino, it's a Falcon. And I went, what? And I had to look it up, and they made a cheap version of the Torino called a Falcon that doesn't have the fastback. It's a notchback.
It's probably been ripped off.
Which I didn't want, and then I turned around, it just makes it much more valuable. I don't buy these to sell them, I buy these to drive them. And this is a Ford Falcon with the same Cobra Jet equipment, and it's probably a cheaper version where Ford goes, why would anybody buy the Torino if they could get this? And so they probably canceled this. I don't think they made many of them. Now I think it's an ugly duckling. I love the way it looks. I have a series of cars that I've rebuilt that are the ugly version, but to me, I think they have a lot of class. I really love this car. Again, bench seat, Hurst T shifter. The tachometer is over in the corner, looks like an oil gauge. It's just tremendous. This is a frightening car because it's a stock car motor. Again, this is my Navy SEAL wife. That's what it feels like sometimes. She likes this. I use this for a movie prop car in Zoom. I think that's the car I drove in Zoom.
What's the reg plate on that?
I don't know, it's probably a classic.
It's a blue one.
Yeah, I don't know, it's probably a classic. He lives in California, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But I don't know if they have the classic plates there. They do. I know they do them over here. When you get to a certain age,
It's got something
you put
at the
classic.
top.
Yeah, I don't know if it's classic cars or something
I
like that.
saw this many times. For me, especially when I buy weird cars like this, it's the stance of it. It drove up to a bike shop in North Hollywood or West LA, and I'm driving by, and I just come from an audition for a preppy. Early, I don't know what I was dressed in clothing. I don't like khakis and topsiders and a shirt. No ascot. I wasn't that far. And the guy that got out of this had an expletive tattooed across his forehead, smart enough to go backwards so that when he's looking at you, it said, something horrible. So I was waving at it because I love this car. He gets out and stares at me. And I thought, oh boy, I forgot I'm dressed like Dad. How are you doing? I look like Thurston Howell. I thought he was going to stab me. He goes, Toolman? And we became friends. I said, is that car for sale? He says, as a matter of fact, it is. As he said, as everyone says, he says, everything is for sale. I bought it, redid the motor, put some air conditioning in it. It's different. It's got plastic bumpers. None of this is real. The hood's not real. It's not really a 71 Nova, essentially. It goes like squirt. I was going to sell it after the movie, and Jane says, I love that car. So now this is her alternate car between the Volvo and the Carmen Ghia and the Bronco. So I said, if you keep driving them, then I'll keep them. It's interesting. It's a drag car, so it's sprung real. My wife, she likes that stuff. This was from Home Improvement. We built both these two hot rods for Home Improvement.
Nice.
This is a piece like no other piece. Can't probably get a picture of the underside. The underside is prettier than the top side. The chassis is all chromed. I don't know who did that. We did a piece of the interior I've done. The engine was done by Motor City Flatheads. I don't know anything about flathead motors. All I know is they're interesting because you start them and they don't do anything. They just sit. They don't have any thump. They're so smooth, you wonder why they don't make them anymore. But while they're making this flathead, you see all the pieces on the ground, you go, they're missing something. It's like half the engine is there. The whole overhead valves
Colour's
and all that
nice.
stuff. Again, technically I'm pretty good. I can build motors, but I don't know much about flatheads. But this is a brilliant flathead. It's pretty quick, considering it's a cruiser. It's been apart many times because when we shot Home Improvement, we had to take it apart and then put it back together for the show in sequence like that. And unlike this one, was the first hot rod we built for Home Improvement. And I learned a lot about hot rods, you know. This is way too much motor, dual quads, look good. It ain't right. I don't know. I said this was a
Looks
iconic
right.
thing because I used it on Home Improvement. We shot so many episodes with it, so it is what it is. You know, I love it because it's a movie car. This is one of my first resto rods, Pro Street. What do you call it? I love this era of Camaro. It was the fastest Camaro on Woodward by Tom Sherwood. Hey Tom. He used to race one of these. Green, not the SS, the standard RS, even less than that. He had a 327. This
Was it a Camaro that our neighbour had when we lived?
You had a Firebird.
Oh, it was a Firebird.
is a one-off. When I did the voice for Chevrolet for years, this is one of my trades with them. It's a 427. Small block 427, they put in the last of the series, the C-Series Vets before the new Vets. So I don't think there's another one out there, I don't think. This was the Don Yinko inspired design with natural flares. There's so much tech in this. The chassis, the interior, but I made it look exactly like a 68 and goes like squirt, a great driver.
Green was always one of them colours of cars, like when they first when they used to do British racing green and stuff like that. And then they did the Mini in it, and then now Aston Martin's gone that green sort of like colour for the race Formula One cars. And then you look at the greens like this, and it's a really attractive colour in it on a car.
I'm not a fan of it.
I've never really been a fan of green cars,
No.
but now the Aston Martin green on the Formula One cars is really appealing.
Yeah.
And then when I look at that green there, I'm like, yeah, I can see. It just gives it that. It gives it that muscle car look, I think, that
No,
green.
Not a fan.
There's only so much you can do with the way they built it. It's a unibody, so it's the chassis. It's real squeaky, so we rechassied it. It still wasn't made for that, so you know the doors. To me, I'm real picky with doors slamming. There's only so much you can do without spending $7 billion redoing everything. However, in it, on it, this car goes like squirt. It handles like it, and it looks exactly like I want it to look.
Yeah, it's great looking.
Moving on, I don't have I just finished another car, the American version of this, which I have a Corvair Corsa, which I just finished because I used to race Corvairs and Yinko Corvairs. I've always liked Corvairs. They're American Porsches to me, and they're bigger and wider. They're just not as fancy, and they're not as interesting. These motors are terrific. My Corsa, if I can send a picture to you guys, we just finished it. Redid the motor, redid the transmission, redid the suspension, redid the interior. Period correct, but I wanted to see if I could keep up with the Porsches. This is a first generation 911S, which I may be wrong, and this is a 356. I think, again, I'm not a real big, I did this because I wanted one of these to beat up.
This is the short wheelbase 67 911S.
I think they immediately stretched it to the 914, I believe. I mean, I'm not a big Porsche guy in that way. I don't know the details.
I've never been a massive fan of Porsche.
No, I know.
I've had one, and it drove great when I had it. And I know my father-in-law had one.
Yeah.
And he had more than one, didn't he?
Yeah.
He had
I think he had about 5 of them.
Yeah, I think he had more than that. But it's and when I drove his, it kind of put me off a little bit. Like they're great cars, but it's kind of like, I don't know, it just wasn't me.
I think it depends which one you have. I think if you have like the 911 or the GT, they're nice to drive. But
yeah, the new ones he brought out and all that, just not a massive fan of them, and I never really have been.
Yeah.
Obviously a great sports car and great sports car name.
Yeah.
But just when I've drove them in the past, I just thought mine drove really well and I enjoyed it when I had it. But then, since then, as I get older and I drive them, I'm just like,
the visibility's not great.
There's a little bit. There's cars that are better than this.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. But they are great cars.
The newer one is stretched. This is too short a wheelbase. Porsche never admits they made a mistake. I think it's the same wheelbase as the 356 with a much bigger motor. And the Andretti family, who are very good friends of mine, told me one day when I was racing this, they said, it's not if it comes around on you, when it comes around. And it is a very tail-happy car.
Yeah.
I'm not a tail-happy experienced driver. When a tail-happy car, even mid-engine, goes on you, I'm not sure what you do to get it back. I don't push
Mine's
this car.
tail-happy.
It was erased, and I've taken all of it, brought it back to stock. Every single thing is this is stock, period, correct. It took a long time to get it where it is. It is nothing. It took all the fancy stuff off, left some oil coolers on it, but the motor, took it out, detailed it, put everything back the way it was. It's a brilliant little thing. And as I get out of it, it's a sweet driving automobile. This was the first time I bought something out of another guy's collection as a trade from a BMW, what is it? The CS, I think somebody's gonna, it's that gorgeous BMW sedan from the 70s, 71 maybe, 3.0 CS, something like that. I just bought it, redid it, didn't like it. Traded it with some dough for this 100-point restoration. I've never had one of these cars. This is better than new. Every part of this, hinges,
That's
doors,
nice.
everything.
Yeah.
All due respect, I love the people at Porsche. I've had a lot of Porsches. It is just a Volkswagen. Okay? It's just an expensive Volkswagen. Sweet little car, great to drive. You put the 6 in it, it becomes a performance car. This is basically the Carmen Ghia, which I think is prettier. There's something adorable. I don't like that word. There's something manly, mandadorable, there's something cool about it. Every time I've wanted to sell it, I get back in it. It's not the Camaro motor like, of course, Jay has, so it doesn't have anything to it. To me, it's just a very big.
I wonder if there's competition between Tim Allen and Jay Leno on the cars.
I think it's a healthy competition. I don't
I think they're friends.
bitterness.
Well, when I seen that thing, I mean, I think they're both just really, really good car people.
Yeah, enthusiasts.
But I'm wondering if it's like if a rare car comes available in the market, are they both chasing it?
I don't know why, but I think Jay Leno has got a lot more money than he might not have, but
Yeah,
it just
I
comes
know what you
across
mean.
to me
Yeah.
that he's got a lot more money,
Yeah.
and so he's got more opportunities to purchase.
Maybe. I don't know who's got the bigger collection. I'm not sure. This is new to me,
Yeah.
watching these collections for Jay Leno and Tim Allen. I'm absolutely mesmerised by it.
Yeah.
I'm like, one of them, when you get on something and you think, I've got to watch another one, I've got to
Yeah.
try and find more videos.
Yeah.
That's what I'm like with these two now,
Yeah.
with Leno and Tim Allen.
Yeah.
But I'm sure these other people have got great collections as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
Some of these princes in like,
Yeah.
bloody Borneo or wherever.
Yeah.
Some of them have probably got supercar collections. I know some of them in the Middle East have.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're anything like this.
No, these are more classics, aren't
These are proper like real
Yeah.
deal.
I didn't even know the CCs on it. I've done a lot of Volkswagens. I used to have Baja stuff, and I did a lot of modification on Volkswagen motors. This is just real slow, but it's not cumbersome. It's kind of cute and it's fun to drive. And
That's how I feel about Porsche.
I'm all the way back to I'm back to where we started.
Yeah.
And my God, and look, I don't have any more cars. But that's it. I'm just so happy that you guys showed up, except him. No, just kidding. I like the equipment you have. See, I like that stuff. I have two that are very interesting that aren't here. I have a 55 Ford combined with a 55 T-Bird, which I like to do. That Steve Moll up in Oakland took a 5-year build. It's got a GT40 motor in it. It's taken, what I've learned about cars when you build them is Ford Motor Company's a company, Chevy's a company, Ferrari's a company. We build them from scratch. You don't sort them out till later. And I've got 4 or 5 of these things that took years to sort them out, meaning that you drive it for 4 minutes and there's what's that smell? Oh, the carpet's on fire because all the hydraulic lines ran next to the transmission tunnel. And you do this, but I've got the Corvair, which I just adore. I really like this Corvair because we got it dialed up. My 555 Ford, it's been on TV before. GT40 motor. That thing yesterday, I'm getting senile, I think. It's too loud. I get in that stupid Tesla. I say stupid Tesla because sometimes it goes, I don't think we should be driving in this lane. It'll tell me you should move lanes or you're not allowed in right now. It actually won't let me in the car right all of a sudden it's just, you're not allowed in. It makes too many decisions for me. I get used to the quiet of that. I get in that 555 or my Demon. God, is that car loud. That said, I'm blessed to be part of this. I said, I love it. I love everything about it. And I said, welcome to my shop, and don't tell anybody where you are.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the. I think there's only 2 parts to it.
Which are the ones, when we watched the first one, you said, oh, I can't wait till we get to that one.
I don't think he touched on him. The Aston Martin. There was an Aston Martin there, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And he must have sort of like just bypassed that.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of British supercars that I love.
Yeah.
You know, it's I was looking this morning at Caterhams, and it's I'm just like, when am I going to drive it? It's I don't know if you've seen a Caterham. It's a 2-seater roadster.
No.
You know, like it's like you know, the old like the wheels on the outsides, you know,
Right,
sort of thing, and
yeah.
it's, you know, it's one of them type thing, almost like a kit car.
Yeah.
And I know Caterham have gone out of business now, but it's, I don't know if they're still doing the regular road cars. I'm not sure. But I was looking at them this morning, and I just thought, when am I going to drive it though?
It just rains all
It'd just
the time.
it'd just be sat there. I'll probably get about 2 days a year where I could
Yeah.
drive it, sort of like where I'm guaranteed that it's not going to rain.
Yeah.
Sort of like, but it's these certain cars like. But then I was like, let me have a quick look at the Ferrari. So I'm looking at the Ferrari Californias, and I'm like, that'd look good in that. And I'm like, would I be able to get out of it? And I thought, let's put my laptop down.
Yeah.
Let's focus on what I'm
You
doing.
hear me walking down.
Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
Bye.